Morning television is usually about lighthearted chatter, coffee, easy compliments, and safe questions to ease viewers into the day. But on this particular morning, CBS Mornings broke that mold. Meghan Markle, America's most talked about former royal, sat across from Gayle King, one of television's most respected journalists. What began with polite smiles and the familiar CBS orange and blue glow quickly unraveled into one of the most explosive interviews daytime TV had ever seen. The studio buzzed with its usual energy. Crew members moved quietly behind the cameras. Giant screens glowed with the morning backdrop, and viewers at home settled in with their first cup of coffee. Gayle King, known for her grace and unshakable composure, sat with her notes neatly stacked, her voice as steady as ever, the calm anchor of the broadcast. Across from her, Meghan Markle appeared every inch the polished guest, navy blazer, cream blouse, hair styled in loose waves. She carried herself with poise and a confidence that bordered on defiance. "Meghan, thank you so much for being here with us this morning," Gayle began warmly. "I know you've been working on a new initiative, and I think our viewers are excited to hear about it." Meghan smiled, though the smile looked calculated, rehearsed. "It's always a pleasure, Gayle," she replied smoothly. "This initiative is about raising global awareness of issues people often overlook. It's about using my platform to shine a light on what really matters." For a moment, everything seemed to go as planned. Meghan spoke about compassion, the need for change, and the audience nodded along politely. It was exactly the type of uplifting segment CBS producers expected. But then, Gayle leaned forward ever so slightly, her subtle signal that she was about to cut deeper. "Meghan," Gayle said evenly, "you've often spoken about your personal truth, but there are people who question the consistency of your story. For example, you once told Oprah that you and Harry had a private wedding ceremony before the official one. The Archbishop himself later contradicted that. How do you reconcile those differences?" The air in the studio shifted immediately. Meghan's smile stiffened. She adjusted her sleeve before answering. "Well, Gayle," she said coolly, "it's fascinating how people obsess over technicalities rather than the emotional truth. What Harry and I experienced was sacred to us. Whether others want to nitpick the details doesn't change our truth." Gayle's nod was calm, measured. "I understand, but some might say truth should be universal, not just personal, especially when it's shared on such a public stage." Meghan gave a short, dismissive laugh. "With respect, Gayle, you weren't there. Neither was the Archbishop in every private moment of our lives. It's easy to comment from the outside. You didn't live it." The audience shifted uneasily. The light-hearted atmosphere was gone, replaced with an unmistakable tension. Gayle pressed on with quiet determination. "You've also said in past interviews that you received no media training before joining the royal family. Yet palace insiders insist you had extensive briefings. Are they lying?" This time, Meghan's expression hardened. "Palace insiders," she repeated, dripping disdain. "Anonymous figures whose careers revolve around protecting an outdated institution. Forgive me if I don't validate their spin. I lived through it, Gayle. I know what really happened." The edge in her voice was impossible to miss. She wasn't just answering. She was dismissing, swatting away the question entirely. Gayle inhaled slowly, keeping her voice steady, even as the tension mounted. Then came the pivot. "You've said you stepped away from the royal family for privacy. Yet you've written books, filmed documentaries, and given interviews. How do you reconcile a desire for privacy with such a public presence?" Meghan leaned forward, her smile sharp. "Gayle, privacy doesn't mean silence. It means boundaries. Choosing what to share doesn't mean I've surrendered my right to privacy. Frankly, I find that question insulting. I don't need to justify my choices to critics who thrive on hypocrisy." Gasps rippled through the audience. This wasn't PR-polished Meghan anymore. This was a woman on the attack. Gayle's serene mask flickered for the first time. "Viewers want clarity," Gayle said firmly. "These aren't just criticisms from the palace. They're genuine questions from the public." Meghan's smirk widened. "And maybe the public should stop expecting me to spoon-feed them answers to every petty doubt. My life isn't a public trial. I don't owe anyone, critics, palace staff, or even viewers, an explanation for my decisions." The words landed like stones. Even Gayle seemed taken aback by the audacity. Still, she studied herself. "I respect that you feel you don't owe explanations. But when you make bold public statements that shape how millions see one of the world's oldest institutions, people are going to ask questions. That's not bias. That's journalism." Meghan tilted her head, lips curving into a cold smile. And I respect that you think you're doing journalism, Gayle. But let's be honest. This isn't about truth. It's about entertainment. If you wanted a spectacle, congratulations. You've got one. The studio fell silent. Even seasoned crew members froze in place. Gayle's eyes glimmered with steel, though her voice remained calm. We're here for an honest conversation, Meghan. That's all. But Meghan wasn't finished. Then maybe you should learn to ask honest questions instead of pairing palace spin. The words sliced through the air. The audience gasped audibly. Gayle's patience stretched to its limits was unraveling. Finally, Gayle dropped the warmth altogether. She leaned forward, voice firm. Meghan, you've dismissed nearly every question I've asked. You've rolled your eyes. You've implied the audience is ignorant if they don't agree with you. That's not strength. That's arrogance. The crowd audibly reacted. Meghan blinked rapidly, her composure slipping. Excuse me? She shot back. Gayle didn't flinch. How dare you come on this set asking for a platform, then insult the very people you claim to serve? You talk about service, but your projects are overshadowed by your personal grievances. And let's be clear. If you weren't married to Prince Harry, none of this would exist. The words landed like thunder. Meghan's breath caught. Her face flushed red. Gayle rose from her chair, her authority filling the room. You act as though the world owes you something because of your former title. But you're not in the palace anymore. You're not above accountability. And right now, you're not acting like a duchess. You're acting like a spoiled child who can't have her way. The audience gasped louder than ever before. Meghan's eyes brimmed with tears. She tried to speak but faltered. At last she stood, her chair screeching across the floor. This is unacceptable. I don't have to take this. Gayle stayed seated, unwavering. Then don't. If you can't handle the tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be in this chair. Stop pretending it's about service when it's always been about yourself. Meghan grabbed her purse, shoulders trembling. She stormed off set, heels echoing across the polished floor. The room erupted in stunned whispers. Gayle turned to the camera, her voice calm but edged with gravity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is live television. Sometimes the truth is uncomfortable, but it still matters. The director cut to commercial, but the moment was already seared into history. Meghan Markle had walked on set to promote a project. She left in tears, her composure shattered. Gayle King, who had shown patience until the very last moment, had finally spoken the words millions of viewers had longed to hear. That morning, CBS interview didn't end as routine TV. It ended as one of the most unforgettable clashes in broadcast history. Now the question is, did Gayle go too far, or did Meghan simply reveal her true colors live on air?